So the reason it's called the message game in the first place and not text game is because text is an action, but a message is much more than just that. A message is everything.
I have a lot of entrepreneurs in my circle. Like, it's not the text game, it's the message game. And me as a marketer, I've always said from the beginning of when I started really studying marketing and going
That's the
deeper
thing. Oh,
into,
there we go. You mentioned marketing.
yeah,
You got it.
yeah,
You nailed it. That is what I wrote. Messaging is marketing. I was
marketing.
just so perfect. Text game is a stupid pickup artist term. Messaging is about marketing and writing. When we talk about message game, we're talking about marketing and writing. It's messaging. Texting is an action. Messaging is a marketing strategy.
And the things that guys are figuring out about women and figuring out about dating, right? And then they're figuring out social circle, but they're really missing a technical piece from what I've seen, right? I don't know if this is something that you've noticed, right? But the words do matter. Yeah, the vibe matters, the mood matters, the social circle and status matters, but I'm a big proponent that the words matter as well. So can you talk a little bit about why you focus on this text game so much?
Well, first of all, you are correct. If you're not sure how effective it is, then explain to me how the fuck I got on the Just Pearly Things podcast, how I interviewed Ross Jeffries, how I interviewed / worked with, did an event with almost everyone in RSD, and how I pulled off getting 7 coaches on one call.
Yo, what up, guys? Welcome back to the show. Today we have on Ice White. Man, let's skip the bullshit. Ice White. A lot of people know you in the dating industry. You are author of The Message Game. And why don't you start us off with just skipping the bullshit? Tell us about your best line, The Message Game. What's your number one Tinder line that people are jacking from you, by the way? They're saying that it's their line on other videos, but go ahead, man. Tell us about yourself.
You got to show me those videos, because I have seen like a few, but it always is the case where there's some new sucker it's weird because like maybe 1 or 2 years ago there was a guy who said he created one of my lines, and I said, okay, when did you create it? He said something like 2021. I was like, motherfucker, it's my intellectual property in this book, which is from 2020. I did not fucking time travel and write a book about your fucking line when it's mine. There are lots of dummies around, but anyway, 7 days ago, at this very moment, 7 days ago, I was on the Just Pearly Things YouTube channel on her podcast.
That's right.
And I gave her one of my lines. In fact, I gave her 2 of my lines, and I got this amazing clip. I did not expect any of that to happen. It's not scripted at all. Well, it was from my side because I've been doing it for so long. But you just got to see the video. It's like 2 minutes long, the clip. It's perfect. I asked her, and this is my favorite line, the adventurous line. I said, let's skip all the bullshit. How adventurous are you? Because she wanted to do like a pretend messaging scenario. And that's what I gave her. She said, well, I rollerblade. And then I said, let's do it. What's your phone number? It really is as simple as that. But, her answer came in at the perfect time. So it turned out to be very swift in that way, but normally that's not what would happen. It would be a little bit longer than that, but the fact that she gave me the date I did immediately meant that I didn't really have much work to do, so it made it very easy.
Yeah, man. So love it. Yeah, like you mentioned, you were on Pearly Things, and you mentioned you started wanting to go on podcasts a little bit more, so thought I'd just invite you on this podcast. And just so you know, just a tad bit about me, I guess. I have coached for Vegas Immersion, a few Vegas immersions, right? So I'm very familiar with like the history of the game and that type of thing. But when did you really get into this dating stuff?
Well, I was what I guess some guys would refer to as a natural, but I don't know. It's just one of those terms, really. I never had a problem with having a girlfriend. So even back in high school,
Right.
I was, although I was quite an exception because back then I was the kind of guy who would hang out with the nerds and with the cool kids. I was the one person who was everywhere.
Yeah,
But
man.
I was
You're like
also
me. You're
one
like
of
me. There you go.
I was also one of the very few who actually had a girlfriend at any stage. So yeah, like in high school, things were pretty interesting because, for example, I was dating the cousin of someone in one of my classes, so that
Hmm.
didn't go so well for him. So things
Yeah.
things were okay. Things were great compared to everyone else. In fact, I didn't even remember this until someone was talking to me about it a few weeks ago. Back then, like my final year or two in high school or something, um, I used to take two bags, one for school. On this is on Fridays. I used to take
Right.
two bags on Fridays, one for school, one for the weekend. And on the weekend, I would stay at my girlfriend's place, and she was older than me by about 2 years, so she was in
Right.
college and everything. And I would just stay there for the whole weekend, so everyone could see me coming in with these two bags in high school, and they were like,
Right.
"What are you
Right.
doing?" So everyone knew that kind of stuff about me, but
You
um,
had your hoe bag. You had your hoe bag. There
my
you go.
whole
Yeah.
bag and my whole bag. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it was pretty well known at that time, but how I really got into game was maybe 2016 or something, maybe a bit before that. Someone was talking about this thing, and he was telling a nerd about it, and it was just going straight over his head, and I was eavesdropping on the conversation. I don't normally
Right.
do that, though. I was just really close by, and I just jumped into the conversation. This guy gave me the book, the game, and then I
Yeah.
read that for like, and I don't even read books, and here I am with my own. So that's how much things
Nice.
have changed. I went from reading no books to reading one book and then writing my own. But yeah, it all started with someone just giving me the book because I heard them talking about it.
Right. Yeah, man. So a lot happened after that book got written, and I know, you've had you. I don't know if you have a podcast, but you have all these videos on your YouTube channel, Game Global, right? So I've seen that you've interviewed people from RSD, you've interviewed like Ross Jeffries and like guys like that, right? So how did that YouTube channel start for you?
Well, fun little fact, everything's escalating so quickly right now. Like last time I spoke to Ross Jeffries was 1 hour ago or less.
Oh,
He
nice.
just
Okay.
sent me a message. But the reason I'll go back to the history a little bit. So after reading the book, The Game, I was intrigued by the people who were in there, so I just Googled a few things, and I think just like pretty much most of the people Googled RSD, and I had just found myself in the RSD circles, where some people went
Right.
to the mystery direction or the Ross Jeffries direction. I went straight to the RSD direction, uh, which
Nice. There you
may or may not have been the right direction, but there we go. Uh, but
go.
over time in those, yeah, it's crazy to think it was only like 2.5 years or 3 years between the start and the finish of me discovering them and then pretty much finishing what they were doing in 2018 or something. I
Mhm.
became one of the leaders. I moved to a big city in Europe, and I became the leader for that city. And at the time, it was the biggest city in their entire network, even bigger than New York, even bigger than Los Angeles, which was pretty crazy.
Right.
Um,
What city was that?
London.
London. Okay. Nice.
Yeah,
Nice.
for me, I moved there for university and for work and stuff like that. And because I'm a small towny kind of guy, so it was like let's
Yeah.
go crazy here. Um, but I was running the city, and because of that, it was like their main city to go to in Europe, for
Mhm.
events, for boot camps, for everything like that. So it was quite significant at that kind of time in those circles. So I hosted. In fact, first thing I did was I started working with RSD Max, just on some design stuff, like making memes and images and stuff like that. And then Luke liked what I was doing, and one other person, and I got shifted onto Luke's team as well at the same time. And
Right.
then at the end of that year, 2016, I started to host events in the city, and we had Ozzy. And then 2017, I started meeting and interviewing pretty much everyone else. So by then, I had either worked with or did a video with or done an event with Max, Luke, Ozzy, Madison, Jeffy, Derek, and Brandon Carter. He's not part of RSD, obviously.
Right. Right.
Nick Coe, I did a video interview with, but that never came out, and that really kind of hurt a little bit. um, Todd, of
RSD Papa.
course.
RSD Papa. That's funny.
Yeah, exactly. But I'm amazed at maybe missing a few other names, but pretty much every single person apart from Julian and Owen. So
Right.
there's that.
That's dope, man. So I think what you do is pretty interesting because you're coming from a messaging perspective, right? And I think one of the things that's being taught today, especially in social circle and a lot of the old school space combined with the new red pill space and the things that guys are figuring out about women and figuring out about dating, right? They're figuring out their nature and then they're figuring out social circle, but they're really missing a technical piece from what I've seen, right? I don't know if this is something that you've noticed, right? But the words do matter. Yeah, the vibe matters, the mood matters, the social circle and status matters, but I'm a big proponent that the words matter as well. So can you talk a little bit about why you focus on this text game so much?
Well, first of all, you are correct. And interesting little thing. I'm working on the second edition right now, which explains this huge board behind me. And this goes across 3 walls. So that's how huge this project is. And I decided to, um, I
Damn.
guess, reword a chapter. It's called, um, yeah, it used to be called Choosing Words. Now it's going to be called wording messages. So the reason it's called the message game in the first place and not text game is because text is an action, but a message is much more than just that. A message is everything. I
I see.
wrote down an amazing quote last week about this. I'm not going to have time to find it, but the general message is that yes, the wording does matter. Texting is just an action, but a message just holds so much more and comes in so many different forms. So there are
Right.
smarter ways to deal with it. And if you're not sure how effective it is, then explain to me how the fuck I got on the Just Pearly Things podcast, how I
Yeah.
interviewed Ross Jeffries, how I interviewed slash worked with, did an event with almost everyone in RSD, and how I pulled off getting 7 coaches. Well, that includes myself. So 6 others on one call. Just last week, 6 days ago. I haven't released the video yet, but that comes out in 2 days. 7 coaches in one video. I don't think anyone has done that for nearly 10
It,
years.
is that the one with where Alex from Playing with Fire is also on that?
Yeah.
And I think another coach in Vegas that I know, I think I saw him on the
Chris
I gotta
McCann, Denton Fisher.
like yeah. But
So
nice,
I'm
man.
planning to do that
Look,
like every 2 weeks now, but that was only like a fresh idea I had a few weeks ago, and I was like, "Fuck it, let's make it happen." Worst thing that happens is like 2 or 3 people show up, but I managed to get
right.
6. I went crazy with it, and I've been lining up the next one today for next week.
No, yeah, and that's key. What you mentioned, right? Because what you just mentioned was not about setting up a date. For you, that was about setting up a business opportunity, right? So if you're listening to this, I have a lot of entrepreneurs in my circle. Like, it's not the text game, it's the message game. And me as a marketer, I've always said from the beginning of when I started really studying marketing and going
That's the
deeper
thing. Oh, there
into,
we go. You mentioned marketing.
yeah,
You got it.
yeah,
You nailed it. That is what I wrote. Messaging is marketing. I was
marketing
just about to put it up. Yeah,
and
I'm
marketing.
gonna give this
Check this out.
preview here.
Give us the preview, man. But here's my thought on marketing. Marketing is simply using communication to get us what we want. What do you want? Let's use communication to get there. That's marketing.
Okay, here's the quote that I wrote down
Let's check
for
this out.
this is so perfect. Text game is a stupid pickup artist term. Messaging is about marketing and writing. When we talk about message game, we're talking about marketing and writing. It's messaging. Texting is an action. Messaging is a marketing strategy.
Right. Exactly. And like we discussed here, I mean, the words matter in actually making that, Zoom call, that meeting happen that you talked about. Messaging matters in actually going on a date with the girls that you actually want, right? So, I mean, tell us a little bit more about this messaging game, your book, whatever's on your mind. Why is it such an important thing from your perspective? Break that down for us a little bit more.
From my perspective, why it's such an important thing is because most of you are fucking it up big time. You can't even fucking spell. You're illiterate. You can't fucking get what you want, whereas I can, and that's such a beautiful thing. Not to be
Right.
big headed, but my head is big, but my nose is bigger. The whole point of message game in a dating context is to meet. And I was just thinking today, I got a dedicated chapter to message game beyond dating. So that's related to like how I'm able to get huge podcasts and stuff like that and become friends with
Right.
celebrities and stuff like that. That one's been a while, but there you go. Still relevant. It it's just ridiculous because I have been running the message game groups for more than 5 years, maybe 6 or 7 years, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and every single day, someone drops at least one person at the very worst drops a screenshot. I get to see these things. I've seen tens of thousands of these over the years. And I knew what the mistakes were years ago when I originally wrote the book and what was before the book, the
Mm-hmm.
Google Docs version 5 years ago. Um, Ultimately, the purpose of messaging in the dating context is to meet. And a lot of people are trying way too hard on like getting to know each other or coming up with a
Dude,
witty
way too
line
much.
or flirting. Like, what the fuck is this? I was looking, we have turned this book into an AI product now, just a few months ago, called
Oh, nice.
MGAI. And I look at the competitors, and these competitors have no experience in dating, most of them. And
Right.
they have some of them have their own app and they have like their fancy design and they have their custom thing where you get to tap a button, like use AI to generate a flirty message or a witty message. Like, what the
Right.
fuck are you doing? What matters is that you meet, not that you fucking entertain her from her bedroom when you're 10 miles away. That's not what the fucking
Right.
point is. The point is to actually make steps towards meeting. And that's such a huge miss. I am still yet to find someone who can actually um knock my book out of the water because it's very solid. It was designed to be extremely practical with screenshots everywhere, annotated.
Mm-hmm.
And if that wasn't enough, I invented this thing in the book called the situation index, where you can point your finger at this part of the table and it says something like, she's ignoring me, and it gives you every single page where that situation applies. So you have every
Like,
single
yeah,
reference in the book on that given situation. So it's designed to be extremely practical because that's how it should be. And there's so much advice out there on messaging that is way too vague, makes no fucking sense. And they're just using these buzzwords like riz, flirty, witty. Like, what the
Riz,
fuck are you
vibe.
talking
You should
about?
vibe.
Where are the results? This book has so many 5-star reviews on Amazon, so many reviews on Amazon, and people actually attributing it to their success. But I don't see the same thing happening with anyone else's stuff.
Right. And I think the females out there would agree with you, Ice White, because I have a lot of female friends, and when they show me their DMs, the
Oh
DMs they
no.
get, both oh my God, both their DMs and then just things like their OnlyFans messages and these guys that are just acting so simpy, right? Either that or they're approaching so wrong that my female friends are picking up their phone and like showing me, and we're laughing together at
Mhm.
some random dude in her DMs, right? So let's give the audience some advice here. What's the number one mistake you see guys making when they're messaging girls, an attractive girl that they like? What's the number one mistake they're making?
No, number one mistake they're making right now, as of like the last 2 years, is signing up to her OnlyFans. So seriously,
Let's
what
go.
the fuck is wrong with you? What are you doing? Um,
That's hilarious.
like first of all, aren't you able to like? This is the thing. Like last week on the Just Pearly Things, the pregame show. Next to me, my wife was there, but next to her was the OnlyFans model. And at the end, where Pearl was saying like, "Feel free to promote your stuff," and she was like, "Sign up
Mhm.
to my OnlyFans." We're all like, "No."
And I
Even
bet a
Pearl
bunch of
was
guys
saying,
did. I bet a bunch of
"Don't
guys did.
sign up to that. Just get his book." And it was just fucking madness.
Yeah.
So I said, we said like option A, you could subscribe to her OnlyFans. Option B, read the fucking book and actually learn how to meet people, because here's the distinction. Messaging, everything you do on your
Messaging.
screen is not real. Me doing this
Right.
podcast with you, this is great for content and YouTube, but it's not as good as
Right.
it would be in person. But it's just what we have to
Right.
deal with now. But if this was a date between me and you were a woman, it's not real. I actually need to meet you in person for us to
Dude.
understand how attracted we are to each other. So the
Yep.
ultimate goal is that you need to meet, and there are just so many guys falling into different traps, like thinking it's about getting to know each other, or classic one, entertainment, as in just like complimenting her all the time, liking her photos. Now there's nothing necessarily wrong with liking photos, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because I got a really unique.
Putting heart eyes under the photos, putting heart eyes under the photos.
Oh no.
Hey guys, if you didn't know,
Don't do that.
the guy that's actually banging her is not liking the photo or putting heart eyes. Just so you guys know.
Correct. Yeah, it's just so bad. Like on Instagram, for some reason, you can see all these random photos. If you see what you like effectively. That's how the Instagram algorithm works. And for some
Right.
reason, this has nothing to do with me, but I could see a few feet photos. I'm not into that at all. But I was like, Instagram,
Right.
what are you doing? Put that away. And I just go on there to look at the comments. I'm like, I'm so grossed out by feet. I'm like, this is disgusting. I wonder what people are saying. I'm hoping that someone's saying, bleh. But I look at the comments and it's the exact opposite. It's like men saying, "Oh my God, your toes are so gorgeous." I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you? It's
Right.
horrific. There's so much validation out there on the internet. It's just pointless giving validation at all. Instead,
Right.
what I prefer to do is being completely different. And that is a great way to separate yourself, because if you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're not going to stand out. But if you stand out,
That's an
you're going to
awesome
stand
point.
out.
That is an awesome point. How do you stand out? How do you
How do you
stand out,
stand
man?
out? Okay, so for commenting, don't comment. For Instagram stories, don't watch other people's stories. Make your own, and they will. I don't even have time to like look at who's looking at my stories. Um, you this is what I like. Here's something that's a bit of Michael Sartain's advice. Don't be the
Shout out Michael
consumer,
Sartain.
be the producer. So instead of consuming content, you should be producing it. That's what me and you do. We're making
Amen.
videos, and we
Yep.
can make use of that, and it effectively becomes a status symbol of some kind, and you get to broadcast that out. But if you're just commenting emojis and just giving validation away so easily, I'm not referring to liking photos specifically.
Right.
You can do that in good ways without it being a big deal. So, for example, with myself, because my wife is into some kind of niche exercise which involves fashion, I like photos for the sake of the algorithm, and then I get followers from that, but I don't follow them back. It's just
Right.
me
Right. Yeah.
marking my territory. Although it's not my territory, it just tells me that I have looked at this photo before and that I take inspiration from it. So I got a message a few days ago from an Instagram model, and she's like, "Thanks for liking my photos. I liked like 2 of her photos,
Yeah.
not 100, by the way. That would be pretty
She
crazy.
was trying to get you on her OnlyFans, man. Thanks for liking my
No,
photos.
oh, maybe. But I said, oh, I just do it for I'm looking for inspiration for what my wife is doing. She's also Native American, so
Right.
there's
Awesome.
that. So that's the thing. That's me liking for a completely different and unexpected reason compared to
Yeah.
everyone else. And as for
Right.
comments, I don't even bother commenting on anything unless it's like an inside joke or something
Right.
like that. I'm adding a comment that is unique to our story
Right.
in
And
some
I
cases.
usually don't comment either unless I know the person, or yeah, there's some people that I know or we feel like we know each other, but we've never met in person. Not yet,
Mhm.
right? Just because we may live in different countries, but that's what's so cool about social media and being the producer, not the consumer, is that now you're making these Instagram stories, you're showing your cool lifestyle, you're showing cool posts, right? And these people that you just met online, right? Both high status men and attractive women, they're now getting to know you without actually ever meeting you until they visit where you live, right? Whether they come to Las Vegas or go to Miami or that type of thing, right? So that's what's amazing about being the producer, not the consumer. Now, what my question with you is, because I do not like dating sites at all, like Tinder, Bumble. In some environments, it's good. Like I remember in Silicon Valley, where no one really went out that much. Like it was good, right? In other places around the U.S., like oh my god, dude, like the most hideous swamp creatures are on dating apps, and like the actual attractive girls, they don't even mess with that at all. Either that, or they're on Twitter and Bumble trying to sell their OnlyFans to people that they match with, right? So my thing here in the United States has just been meeting people in real life, even during the pandemic. Now, what I want to ask you is this messaging game your philosophy, the way that your communication philosophy, right? Does that work in a real life situation?
Well, first I'm going to address the dating apps thing. So,
Yeah, go for it.
there's some people who are on dating apps because they're not desirable in other places. So they resort to that because they want to give that a go. And they will still get matches, actually, especially women who may be obese or something like that. while in other parts of their life, they don't get that kind of chance or validation. So there's that. On the other side of the spectrum, I have requested statistics from Tinder just last week for the book, and they provided me with some a few days ago.
Nice.
So that's going to be included in the second edition. But one thing that I remember them clarifying is that the way Tinder works, specifically Tinder and at this moment, is matches or I know it's hard for people to believe sometimes, but matches tend to be based on activity on both sides. So when you say hot women may not be so available on dating apps, it's because they're spending their time on Instagram instead.
Right.
So
The number one
they're
dating app in the world. The number one dating app in the world. Instagram.
It's not to say
Awesome.
it's impossible to find hot women on Tinder, because it is possible. I have
Right.
used Tinder with great results back in the days, but I even had a girlfriend who was a L'Oreal model, and she was on TV and everything, magazines, you name it. And I got that using a super like. So it is possible.
Hey, shout
Anyone
out to the super
who's
likes.
dismissing it completely may be missing out, because it's how I met my wife, for one.
Nice.
It's how I met previous partners, and many other people, even some people I haven't met in person but did kind of stay in contact with.
And by the way, I have
Stuff like
met some
that.
great girls on Tinder and Bumble. I've met some great girls on Tinder and Bumble as well. I've just met better girls off the platform. That's all I'm saying. At least for me. I don't know. I just can't seem. I guess I got to work on my online dating game, man. I got to work on it. I'm not getting the swipes I want.
It's kind of like diversification. It's if you rely too much on one thing, it's okay if it works. Like I was relying on Tinder quite a lot. I did also go out at night to clubs, so I was relying on two things. That wasn't so bad. If something's working for you, stick to it. But ultimately, if you're avoiding online dating, it's very easy to get into, and all you need is like it is easy for me to say this. All you need is some good photos. But then again, I've seen thousands of profiles of fucking garbage photos, and they're like, why do I not have more than 2 matches? I'm seeing this every week, by the way. I am not exaggerating. Why do I only have 2 matches when I've been on the app? I saw one a few days ago. It was like, I've been on the app for 4 years and I have like 6 matches. I'm like, fuck. It's like, I don't get it. Why? It's because you're wearing the same fucking thing in every photo, and all of them are mirror selfies. It's like, do you not fucking see that shit?
No, man. Yeah, like I said, actually, one thing you mentioned, I want to address it. You mentioned that people might be avoiding online dating. I think it's the other way around. I think they're avoiding actually going out and talking to people in real life.
Oh, that,
right?
Definitely.
So,
yeah.
Does your messaging philosophy, communication philosophy, work in real life? In terms of the structure, it doesn't have to be exact, like what you would fucking like text, right? But
so it's not about lines, and yes, there are lines in my book which are very effective.
It's not about lines. It's not about lines. What is it about?
I have seen people use my lines and then after, like they use it in the wrong place. First of all, they use it after, and then they use, or they use it as a backup, and then after that they say something completely different, so it makes no fucking sense. It's not about the lines. You actually need to fucking use your imagination and read the book so you understand how it actually works. But in person, for me, I didn't really see it the same way. It's just a matter of like I was saying before, there's the virtual world and there's the physical world, and they are completely different things. So you can fake your photos, fake your personality, fake all kinds of things on the screen, but you can't fake a goddamn thing in the real world, in the physical
Right.
world, because of body language, emotions, all kinds of shit that I never knew existed years ago, including emotions. I didn't know anything about that. Yeah, for me, I don't think there are that many similarities in terms of like what to say, because the messaging itself is designed specifically to find the fastest way to meet. Whereas
Gotcha.
you
That
talking to
makes
someone in
sense.
front of you, you're already meeting them right now. So the objective
Right.
is different.
Right. So now you're building rapport, spiking emotions, right? All right. So my man, like you mentioned, you spent some time with the RSD folks, right? You were on a call with Ross Jeffries like an hour ago out here. Okay. I see you. What do you think now that's a totally different culture than what we're seeing in like the fresh and fit type red pill rage thing from the internet perspective that's kind of going mainstream and going viral. Even the girls know about the red pill, right? What's your opinion on the red pill, my man?
I still don't even know what it is. So I'm not
Oh,
even fucking around.
okay.
So I interviewed Rollo Tomassi in December, and I asked him what the red pill is. So he gave me
Right.
his version, but I'm still not that clear on. I asked him for a quick summary,
I
and then
think I
he
saw
just
that clip.
gave
Yeah.
like a 2 hour lecture on it. I was like, and it was like, because of my time zone, I it was like 4 in the morning for me, so it just went straight over my head. I was so sleepy, and I was like, can we just move on?
Yeah, you're like, let me get a quick what it's a quick summary of the red pill, and he was like, "Do you know what I do? I don't give quick summaries." That's amazing.
And then
That's
Michael
amazing,
said,
man.
hold on to your dicks, you're not gonna go pee anytime soon.
That's
Oh, it
right,
was
Rollo
hilarious.
Tomassi, man.
Yeah, so I still don't really understand like the exact def. I couldn't word it myself, basically. I'm still kind of sketchy on it, but I'm guessing that's pretty much who Andrew Tate, Justin Waller, Roll Tomassi, and just Pearly Paul Davis are.
Yeah,
And that's good with me because those guys are very good at what they do. Um, Paul is very fascinating. Like, she's a woman, first of all, so it's kind of unexpected for her to kind of get into all this stuff. So it's very fascinating what she's doing.
right.
But I was like the last person to know who Andrew Tate was. But then
Okay,
again, I run 310 what we call game cities that are the equivalent of what the RST inner circles were years ago.
right.
So it's a network of guys who are into game and stuff like that. And I saw a lot of names come up, names I still don't know. I wouldn't have a face to a lot of these names. And one of
Right.
those names was Tom Torero. I did not know who that was until he died. And Andrew Tate kept coming up. So only a few months ago, I actually found out who he was and like started watching a few things. But that was like after he got banned from pretty much everything. So the only videos I could watch were Fresh and Fit. Fresh and Fit were more guys
Right.
that I never heard of or seen, but I saw their names come up quite a few times, but I just didn't know what the
Hmm.
fuck everyone was talking about. I was like, what a weird name for a podcast. But
Right.
there,
Right.
it's very, I was listening to it today, so it's always on my list. Yeah, the ones I listen to are just Pearly Things as of quite recently, Fresh and Fit for the last 2 months, maybe. Justin Waller. Um, I don't listen to Rollo Tomassi necessarily. He's like way too nerdy for me.
Academic.
Although that should be appealing to me, but I don't know. It's too logical. I don't know.
From the red pill sense. Yeah. There's a certain point in the red pill, like I know, Destiny was mentioning this, or maybe it was Sneeko that was mentioning, they're done with the red pill because it's just a lot of the same thing. You realize what you realize about women's nature, and it's like a lot of these shows are just like over and over again going over the same exact things, right? Body count, status,
So someone told me
those
about that. Yeah, like there's a coach who told me quite recently that he's not very into like the red pill stuff. Not that I really know what it
right.
is entirely, because he said it's like a pendulum. It goes left, it goes right, so it's like the same thing over and over again. Um, but I see what you're saying, because the formula for fresh and fit, at least, is obviously sit down with the other guy and have a bunch of there's a bit of bias, I guess, because
they're Jerry
it's in
Springer over there.
Miami.
It's working for them. They're Jerry Springer over there, though.
It's in Miami, and they have these OnlyFans models. It's like,
The
why?
capital of OnlyFans is Miami.
Yeah,
Or
the
Miami is the capital of OnlyFans. I've seen that recently.
like that's the thing. All these podcasts are having OnlyFans models on there and trying to like get gotcha moments and stuff like that. Yes, it's quite entertaining when it goes horribly wrong, I guess, but uh, it it is interesting. But when can we have? This is why I was leaning towards the whole thing of, why don't we just have a bunch of experts in one place and just talk about things comparatively, discuss our opinions, our views, and not even debate, because debate has become a little bit of a buzzword for YouTube. It's like debate, whatever.
Yeah,
I'm not interested in like the drama thing. I'm just interested in having these discussions, because the way I got to this multi coach panel thing in the first place is I realized I was asking a lot of the individual coaches and figures the same questions, such as, who's a coach you can recommend? Um, does age matter? Does money matter? Does looks matter? Stuff like that. And as soon as I got seven in the uh, same event, same video,
right.
it became immediately clear what everyone was agreeing about. So now I haven't released a video yet. It comes out in 2 days, but
hmm
what I'm assuming will happen is that people begin to realize, okay, now we understand that this is the answer, because every single one of them is very consistent with each other on that particular subject. And then with that, I can figure out what the more disagreeable ones are, the looser ones, and everyone can understand what the absolute truths are in terms of what every single coach agrees upon.
Right.
It's still very new, but it's not something that other people are doing, because maybe it's quite complicated to bring a lot of coaches together in one place. But that's the beauty of me being the king of message game, because I can make these things happen.
Nice.
Whereas of these other podcasts are doing like, let's have a bunch of OnlyFans models on and just like talk about dating and stuff.
Right. Well, they're you're right. They do have a formula, right? Having those types of discussions and trying to get those gotcha moments. They're really going for views, right? And it's worked for them. Like it's just it's fucking worked, right? Regardless if they're canceled and off of YouTube's monetization
If it
thing or not,
works, they're not
they're
going to
still
change it.
making. Yeah, they're still making money. So, and they can run their own type of game in the background, like just like any classic TV show, right? Give one thing that people like to see, and then do your own thing in the background. But no, man, I think there's a big distinction between a lot of the guys that are teaching dating, and then a lot of the red pill mainstream stuff you see coming along that are trying to get these gotcha moments. Like, dude, I'm like I'm just like I don't know if you've seen Access Vegas with Rollo Tomassi and
Mm.
Michael Sartain. I mean, dude, a lot of these OnlyFans models are my friends. Like, I love OnlyFans models. Like, I'm not gonna shit on women at all, and that doesn't make me a simp, but that also doesn't make me a red pill rager, right? So I see a lot of these guys like just trying to shit on women when really I think even for yourself and me as well, right? What we are is red pill aware. We just know about it, but we're not hardcore. Like, our feelings aren't hurt, and we're not getting mad and like bitching about women's nature. We're actually just doing something about it, right? So there's a huge distinction there. And I think too many guys, too many men out there are getting caught up in the red pill rage type of thing. And it's
Mm.
creating this environment where they're mad at women or donating $100 to Fresh and Fit just to shit on someone. Right. 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 So, no, man, I think there's a big distinction there. Red pill, you should know women's nature. You should read Rollo Tomassi's book, right? But that's just being red pill aware. That's not being like these red pill guys like with no face on their YouTube account, going making anonymous comments, right?
Oh
So
yeah, the comments are ridiculous, but I guess if there's one thing I would do to distinguish myself between myself and these red pill podcasts and YouTubers and everything is practicality. So I have and simplicity. So it has been a theme in pretty much everything I have done. My book was designed to be extremely practical. So what can you
mhm,
do with these statistics of divorce rates, for example? Paul was talking about like 67, 68% divorce rate. And I was talking about this the
right,
next day to my panel of 7 coaches. And one of them said something like 70 or 80% of businesses fail within 5 years or something like that.
right.
There are different statistics.
I think it's
And
even
then he was
higher than that.
saying, it doesn't mean you should not make business. It's like, otherwise there'd be no business. Take the
Right.
risk. And I was like, you know what? That is interesting. And that is why I love doing this new thing is only been one episode, hasn't even been released yet. But these are the kind of
Right.
conversations we're having because instead of it being, we're all doomed. Oh my God. Everyone's
Yeah.
going to get divorced, blah, blah, blah. For me, it's kind of the opposite because I got married in I didn't even realize until a few weeks ago, one of the
Mm,
best countries on earth, top 5, to be married and to get married. And it is Peru. It has a divorce rate of
okay.
0.02%. No, something like 0.002%
God
or
damn, why is it so low?
0.02.
Why is it so
That's
low?
the
What's going on
thing.
in Peru?
And that's what Pearl was asking me. And I said, I think it's because, for one, it's Catholic, it's conservative. And if you just go there, the way family is just completely different. They got huge families, I guess, but the thing is, they're always having parties, they're hanging out with each other, everyone's close to each other in some form.
Right.
They and another distinction is like they support each other's businesses. A lot of them have their own businesses, big or small. Whether it's just like a pharmacy or a corner store or something like that, they don't give each other discounts. They just support each other,
Yeah.
and that's
Amazing.
the thing. It's like in gringo culture, we have this thing where it's like if you have a family member who does a particular service, you expect a discount. I
Yeah.
learned from going to Peru that is not how it should be. You should be supporting
Right.
instead of going to the alternative, which is $1 billion company which doesn't need your money.
Right.
Um, so family is hugely emphasized in Peru, and I think that's probably the biggest or one of the biggest reasons for the divorce rate being the best on the planet, one of the best on the planet, top 5, bottom 5, if you count it as like the lowest divorce rate in
Right.
terms of
Right.
bottom. So although I'm not Peruvian, so I don't know I don't understand the government stuff that goes on or anything like that. Either way, don't in any country. That being said, but that's the thing. It's just so completely different. So instead of
Interesting.
kind of talking so much about statistics and kind of grilling people for their own personal individual behaviors, perhaps we should find another way which is more practical, whatever that may
Right.
be. It sounds kind of vague, but surely there's a more practical way and a better solution out there.
It sounds healthier, yeah, because I agree. Some of these conversations are one-sided, and when you look deep into it, things are pretty biased in some of these red pill conversations, right? So yeah, man. Like I mentioned, I'm very familiar with the space that you're in. A lot of my friends are dating coaches, right? And I'm just always interested in when you say you're a dating coach and women are looking at what you do, or maybe you're meeting some of your wife's friends, right? And she's telling them that you're a dating coach. What are the most common misconceptions that you get from women when you reveal to them that you're a dating coach?
Okay, that's a very good question. I don't know. I kind of forget about these conversations actually because it's more like he has a book and they're like, oh, it's a best-selling book, and then they just understand that. So
Nice.
for me, my label isn't so much dating coach, it's more best-selling authors. So that's the kind of
Right.
label that people see when they see me. Whereas other dating coaches don't necessarily have their own books, and if they do, they might not be best-selling ones. Now, there are people who
Right.
do, like Eric von Markovic, Mystery, and people like that. But
Yeah, I don't see a lot
for
of books.
the thing that gets mentioned first tends to be the fact that I wrote a book, or that I do videos or interview people, stuff like that.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
Okay, so here's another thing. I am someone asked me a few days ago, perhaps we could talk about the whole thing around what coaches are doing. So, for example, someone asked me a few days ago that someone told them that I paid to be on the Just Pearly Things podcast. And I sent like a
Okay.
15-minute rant to this guy saying, tell this person who told you that he's a fucking idiot. Because number
Yeah.
one, there's no evidence of this claim. You making a claim as if it's true, and I know it's not true because I am the subject of that claim. And claiming it to being true is just stupid. And first of all, the fact that they tell you instead of ask me to verify the information or ask me for evidence is just a pretty clear sign that they're just a snake, basically.
Right. Yeah.
So
They're
this is like
spreading rumors out here.
the whole red pill thing is like, with the success of the videos I've been doing over the last few weeks or months, ever since the Tomassi interview, especially in the last few weeks, I have been getting comments on the videos every single day. Now it's like maybe one or two comments every hour. I don't know. I'm not going to put a number on it, but
Yeah.
it's at the point where the tab on my computer is open most of the time because there's always something happening on the YouTube channel now. We just got our
Right.
biggest spike of views yesterday, and the day before. We got our biggest spike 2 days ago, and
Ever.
then spiked
Ever.
again. Ever.
Okay.
We reached our peak 2 days ago, and we reached a new peak yesterday. So maybe it's going to go down today, but
And you think
whatever,
you're
we'll
thinking
see.
that's because of going on the Pearly Things podcast?
Not necessarily, because I only released one video and one short so far, and I uploaded two shorts that day on Wednesday, and the one that got the most views was the Ross Jeffries one. So a lot of this
Right.
spike is coming from the Ross Jeffries content, actually. But it's just also a matter of the fact that I'm uploading more things than ever before. Just like uh 4% more than I did a few weeks ago. So it hasn't changed that much. But compared to before, I was doing like 3 videos a year or something ridiculously low. So I kicked
Right.
myself in the ass. But anyway, the thing I really wanted to kind of discuss is like now I'm getting a lot of comments, and not just on my own videos, but I see comments in other people's videos too. You were saying about Fresh and Fit viewers sending like $100 super chats, and they write their own crazy messages. A lot of these comments are genuinely toxic, negative. It's like I look at these, and of course, most of them, or probably all of them, don't even have one subscriber or a photo or anything like that, or a name.
Right.
It's like if you said this in person, you would probably get punched in the face. So it's like, why would you? It's just it's something I don't understand, because I'm a very intelligent person, and when I see someone say something stupid, I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. It's a daily occurrence for me because I'm so used to it. Or actually, I'm still not used to it. But there we go.
Hey, shout out to the haters. Shout out to the
There
haters.
there are just so many people who are really hating on these random things, or they completely misunderstand what's being said, or they can't even read, or they get even the basics
Dude.
wrong. It's like,
Oh
man,
my
just
God.
listen to it again, or just don't be such a hater, because if you're making these comments in the first place, I can't even tell you examples, because it's just not even in my own reality of my
Look,
mind that I would even say something like that ever, whatever that may be. I just can't tell you what it could be, because I'm not as stupid as the kind of
I,
person who does say that.
dude, I get it. I mean, I've seen these people on, these either Red Pill podcasts or like in the comments of like Michael Sartain, and it's like the things that they're saying, they don't understand what's actually being said. Like they don't understand what's going on. And you're looking at these comments like, did this dude just fucking comprehend this video? Like, does he know what's actually going on here? Because he's making up his own shit in the comments. So yeah, man, I totally understand what you're saying.
And like with the just pearly things video last week, like so many of the comments are about the OnlyFans girl. Of course, there are some funny ones. I give you that.
Yeah.
Those aren't a problem. It's like this. We just spent 1.5 hours of this episode giving the OnlyFans girl an intervention. It's like, you know what? That does make sense. It was really like that. So that's okay, no problem. But then there are guys who are like, uh, she, yes, like they really hate on this woman, and me being there on the same sofa as her, I'm not the kind of person to disrespect her in front of thousands of people, or
Right.
even to her face. She has made her own choices. She's human. Would I want to marry her personally or be in a relationship with her personally? Not for me.
Hey, we love the
But
OnlyFans girls. We love the OnlyFans girls. We love them. We
not
won't pay
love
for
him
them.
so
We won't
much.
pay for them. They're our
It's
friends. They're our friends. They're our friends.
exactly. You just got to realize, like, I also had people comment that, oh my God, just Pearly Things is a grifter and stuff like that. I'm like, I don't even know what this refers to. I'm just,
Not really. People are
it's
using
not
that
that,
term grifter totally wrong. They don't even know what the word grifter means. What they really mean,
yeah, but
I know what they mean.
my,
They mean like culture vulture. That's what they mean. But
my thing
even
is like,
even then,
it doesn't matter exactly what someone's opinions are. Like she's been
she's
saying
doing the
things like
work. She's doing the work. You're not. You're in the comments, right?
people are hating on her, and the people who are hating on her are not more successful than she is.
Back to being the
At the same
producer, not
time,
the consumer.
yeah, consuming this content and then just being completely negative about it. Like, don't you have better things to do with your life? I don't even have time for this shit.
Yeah, thanks
So
for
what
commenting.
does
Thanks for
that say?
commenting. Boost the algorithm, right?
Yeah, it's all fun and games
But
sometimes, but when it comes to like having a woman on the sofa who does OnlyFans, she has made her own decisions. Yes, she might not be able to name free countries. She might make herself look stupid. Um,
we still love
have
them.
you
We still love
ever
them.
met people before? Like, you can still get on with someone and not make them your enemy just because you disagree with them on one or two things that have nothing to do with you.
Right, right. I think people are super upset, right? Like, what does the rest of an OnlyFans girl's life have to do anything with you, right? Especially if you're not dating her. I don't. Something's happening to my. Oh my god.
Now, the funny thing is
Some.
like some of the same people who comment this shit in the first place are the same people who
Okay.
subscribe on OnlyFans to the people they're hating on. There's a lot of hypocrisy, but
That's
at the end
strange.
of the
Yeah, that's
day,
weird.
it's a human thing. People are just fighting over these random things. Uh, yeah, I don't know, but dude, I was
Yeah.
going to say something, but I can't really say it because
No worries.
that there.
No, you can say it. You
Okay,
can say it. Fuck it.
here's
Fuck it. Say it.
here's me saying it without saying it, but saying it. So here we go. From my experience, when these OnlyFans models, whatever you call them, creators, that's the funny thing. They say creators now. It's like,
I'm a
oh,
creator.
you create art.
I'm a
That's
creator.
not art. Um, from experience, these girls who go on the podcast, they say things. They claim to be single or they claim to be in a relationship, whichever case it is, and that they're an
Yeah.
OnlyFans. The OnlyFans part is true, but they are making up other aspects. So I have gone on to a
Interesting.
few of these things where it's like uh, after the show, it's clarified to me that the story is a bit different.
Right. Okay.
So then you're like, okay, so the entire episode, you were just talking about something completely different. And here's the thing, because the comments are trying to roast the OnlyFans models for things they said. But then after the show, they clarify to me that it's not true. Something else is the case. So now none of these comments matter. And the fact that she's
Right.
being smug in the first place is because she knows it's not true. And those comments don't mean anything because the story is actually different.
Marketing. Interesting, man. Interesting. That's something to think about. Um, no, man. Before we go here, is there any last piece of just general advice you'd like to give anyone out there, men or women, your choice? What do you want to leave the people with?
Um, don't lead with hate. Just if you're going to comment something positive. What have you learned? You need to focus on the good things that are happening. And the ultimate message I gave last week on Paul's show was that there are bigger problems you could have, and there are people complaining about being single, and meanwhile they're not working on themselves. So here's a classic one. I can't lose weight. Yes, you fucking can. What have you done so far? Oh, I went on a diet for a week. A week? It takes at least 6 weeks for
A
your
week.
fucking body to adapt to any kind of change in your diet. So are you actually trying? Because there's so many people who are complaining about shit, and they say they have done like one or two things, but they were given like a different story, kind of like I was talking about. and they're not really
Right.
trying. Meanwhile, there are some people, my wife has brain cancer. There are people who are actually dealing with some real chaotic things. And I went on
Right.
to that show with my wife, whereas other dating coaches don't go on to these things with their girlfriend or wife. Michael Sartain
Right.
has, but I
Hey,
can't
shout
think
out
of anyone
Michael. Shout
else
out Michael Sartain. Yeah, I can't think of anyone else either. But
because it's
no,
like,
go ahead.
oh,
You went on with your wife.
maybe she's gonna say something bad about the relationship or something like that. I went on there knowing that she has cancer. We are at our weakest, but I also went on there knowing that in the future there's nothing that could ever bring us down because there's nothing harder than cancer. And anyone who
Right.
complains to me that it's so hard to meet women, it's so hard to have a relationship, shut the fuck up, because it's not harder than cancer. It is not harder than brain cancer. It is not harder than having a hole in your fucking brain. So whatever you're
Right.
complaining about, think about it from my perspective, where I have persisted through a lot of things. Now I'm persisting through this. It's not even me. I'm not the one with the problem. My wife is, but the whole family's affected because we have a
Yeah.
daughter, we have our relationship, our marriage, and everything like that. So don't ever come to me saying, oh my God, marriage is such a scam, or I never want to have babies. And then, okay, show me your life 20 years from now. What's going to happen? Oh, yeah, you changed your
Right.
mind. Okay. Don't say these things that you don't mean, and don't make complaints. You actually need to fucking do something with your life, because some people don't have the chance that you have. They don't have the weight dragging you don't have the weight dragging you down. You might have financial difficulties, you might be broke, but it's easier to make money than it is to get rid of brain cancer. So think about that.
Right.
You need to make money. Okay, it's not going to happen overnight, but it's easier than cancer. So you have no fucking excuses.
Love it, man. Stop making fucking excuses out there. There you go. Where can
It's
they
a
find you,
dark
Ice White?
thing, but I have to fucking hammer it in.
Right, for sure, man. Where can they find you, my man?
Instagram, Ice White Official. I'm very easy to find. It's just my name and then official after it. Apart from Facebook, which is Ice White Personal, and Telegram, Ice White Official. That's the app I use the most, actually, because that's where my network groups are. And the YouTube channel is Game Global.
Nice. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll have to do this again.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. You're very good at this. I really like this stuff.
Thanks. Appreciate it, my man. Talk soon.
Thanks. Bye.